Good evening, and welcome to the evening from the New York Times. I'm your host for this Friday, August 7th, 2026. It's the end of the week, and there's a lot to unpack, from a surprising reversal in the labor market, to a covert search for Cuba's next leader, to lessons learned from an earthquake in Japan, and even a mystery involving a beloved gelato brand. We'll also touch on a historic Red Sox winning streak, a childhood home for sale in Ohio, and plenty more. Let's dive in. We start with the economy, and a jobs report that has economists and policymakers parsing every decimal point. This morning, the Labor Department reported that American employers cut 23,000 jobs last month. That's not a slowdown, that's a contraction. And it gets more sobering. Job gains for previous months were revised down by 103,000, signaling that the labor market is less robust than we thought. This comes after what looked like a surge in job creation this spring. So what happened? Well, costs have ticked up as traffic through the Strait of Hormuz remains stalled, and the Trump administration's tariff threats have renewed global trade uncertainty. Our economics reporter Talman Joseph Smith put it this way: the labor market could be fairly described either as impressively steady or as steadily unimpressive. On the one hand, the unemployment rate has held at 4.5% or below for 58 consecutive months, the longest streak on record. On the other, the momentum is clearly fading. We went shopping with 5 Americans to see how they're adjusting to higher grocery prices, and their stories reflect a broader unease. One shopper told us she's swapping name brands for generics, another is buying less meat, a third is driving farther to find deals. These aren't abstract statistics, they're kitchen table decisions playing out across the country. Now, from the domestic economy to foreign policy, and a story that reads like a Cold War thriller. The Trump administration is pressuring Cuba to make political and economic changes, and behind the scenes, U.S. spy agencies are searching for a current or former Cuban official who could take over the government. The model they have in mind is Delcy Rodriguez, who became Venezuela's interim president after U.S. forces seized Nicolas Maduro to face narco-trafficking charges in New York. The goal, a pragmatist willing to work hand in hand with U.S. officials. But intelligence officials have warned that Cuba may be more like Iran than Venezuela, meaning if the U.S. moves to overthrow the current leadership, a more hardline figure could emerge. This is regime alteration, not regime change, as one official put it. Meanwhile, the administration is teaming up with Colombia's new president, who campaigned on crushing drug traffickers with U.S. help, to militarize the fight against drug trafficking across the region. Colombian officials from the incoming administration traveled to Washington last month, and a senior U.S. defense official said sweeping plans are already underway. Back in Washington, the White House is again considering firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, after an earlier attempt was blocked by the Supreme Court. A letter signed by Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino gave Cook 21 days to respond to previous allegations of mortgage fraud, allegations she denies. And the fate of President Trump's planned ballroom, intended as a replacement for the East Wing, could land before the Supreme Court after a federal appeals court panel ruled he cannot continue construction without explicit congressional approval. The president vowed to fight the ruling. Separately, a Times investigation reconstructed the untold backstory behind the reflecting pool troubles involving a Trump Organization hospitality manager who traveled to Las Vegas for a concrete trade show to find a fix for the national landmark. The fallout has been messy, expensive, and deeply political. Let's turn now to Japan, where a powerful earthquake jolted southwestern Japan last week. The tremors had eerie similarities to twin quakes that hit Venezuela the month before. But the outcomes could not have been more different. Venezuela's quakes killed more than 6,000 people. In Japan, the death toll stands at 38. Seismologists and Japanese officials say the difference is a decade of preparation. After a devastating quake hit the same region 10 years ago, local officials spent tens of billions of dollars on earthquake proofing, including underground rubber and steel shock absorbers that kept Yuto's city hall standing. They also trained locals in search and rescue. At Kumamoto General Hospital, an operating room camera captured the moment the 6.8 magnitude quake struck mid-surgery. Tables, chairs, and equipment went flying. 2 doctors clung to the operating table to protect the patient. The surgery was completed successfully. It's a testament to what sustained investment and cultural readiness can achieve. Now, a quick roundup of other major developments. In Congress, a key Republican senator announced support for Todd Blanche's nomination as Attorney General, effectively salvaging his confirmation. Blanche, who has served as acting AG since April, was narrowly confirmed Saturday after a bruising battle over his willingness to rein in President Trump. In Puerto Rico, residents are being forced to forego showers amid a worsening water crisis. The water authority began rotating 48-hour shutoffs in parts of San Juan and surrounding areas. A restaurant owner collects condensation from an air conditioning unit so customers can flush toilets. In Loiza, a tanker truck driver named Peter Pabon weaves through narrow streets filling buckets for bedridden residents. "Everyone knows me already, and I know where everyone is," he said. In the Middle East, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan signed a joint defense pact, committing to collective defense. An attack on one is an attack on all. But the text wasn't made public, and in a region of volatile rivalries, it's unclear how it would work in practice. In politics, Abdul El-Sayed, the Democratic candidate for Senate in Michigan, sat down with the Times to discuss his win, his plans, and his regrets. In Idaho, the town of Twin Falls has embraced a bystander who stepped in to help after a shooting at a strip mall. In health news, Cyclospora symptoms can return weeks after treatment, a foodborne parasite that causes severe diarrhea, sometimes recurring after antibiotics. One Brooklyn intern thought she'd recovered, then the symptoms came back with a vengeance, landing her in the hospital with 4 fluids. In Oregon, a rift among Portland's naked bike riders reflects a broader debate playing out among American liberals. They've ridden naked since 2004, but this summer there are 2 competing rides, a split over tone, inclusivity, and what protest should look like. And in Antarctica, an Australian flight crew battled sub-freezing temperatures, near constant darkness, and extreme weather to rescue an American from the bottom of the world. The medevac mission, carried out by the Australian Antarctic Division and Skytraders, took 5 hours each way in the dead of southern winter. Time now to unwind. The Edinburgh Fringe Festival kicks off this week, the eclectic, open-to-all event that launched Baby Reindeer and Fleabag. Producer Francesca Moody is back with Roleplay, a one-woman show about a fame-seeking podcaster who reinvents herself as a sex influencer. The whole Fringe run sold out in advance, and it's heading to London this fall. Another buzzworthy show comes from Amanda Knox, convicted and later acquitted of the 2007 murder of her housemate. Our reporters have a full guide to what else to watch. Now, an ice cream mystery. Anne-Marie Conti, who writes the Ask Wirecutter advice column, used to be a Talenti evangelist. She collected the empty plastic pints, told all her friends about the creamy gelato inside. But during a recent tasting, she couldn't finish a single bite of Talenti's vanilla. The flavor had changed, for the worse. Anne-Marie doesn't just ponder these things, she investigates them. Remember her dumpster diving adventure? She talked to Talenti's founder, looked into updated ingredients, tasted loads of gelato. What she found may surprise you. A few dinner table topics. The childhood home of Neil Armstrong in Wapakoneta, Ohio, where the future astronaut launched balsa wood model airplanes from his second-story bedroom window, is up for sale. Just over 1,500 square feet, listed for $430,000. The current owner, a retired history teacher, has filled the room with paintings, photos, and memorabilia. In Tuscany, long-table vineyard dinners and Instagrammers' fantasy have become increasingly popular. Travis Barker, the drummer who survived a plane crash, married a Kardashian, and drummed through it all, opens up on Popcast about miscarriage, parenting famous kids, and his evolution from hard-living rocker to breathwork devotee. And Ella Fitzgerald's adopted son, Ray Brown Jr., flew 4,500 miles from his home in western Ukraine to attend a concert in her honor at Bryant Park. He wasn't the headliner. He might not even sing. But the organizers wanted him to talk about his mother. What to do this weekend? Cook grilled Zaatar shrimp for a quick, easy summer dinner. Listen to a podcast about the psychology of romance films, our wellness reporter recommends it. Plan an African safari, we've got a guide on budgeting, timing, and choosing the right operator. Take design inspiration from a vibrant playroom in Portland's Forest Park, where colorful cabinets, collages, and couches create a far cry from sad beige. Get the stains out of your rug with our step-by-step guide. Take this week's news quiz. Play today's connections, spelling bee, and mini crossword. And one last thing. Have the Red Sox forgotten how to lose? I may have jinxed them by writing this, but something magical is happening in Boston. This year's team, which fired its manager and lost its stars to injury, has transformed from one of MLB's worst into a legitimate postseason contender. They've won 31 of their last 36 contests, a feat no other Red Sox team has accomplished, not the Babe Ruth squads, not the Ted Williams squads. Last night, they did it again, came from behind 5 different times, down to their final strike in the ninth, and one on a walk-off single in the 13th inning. Caleb Durbin, the hero. Nick Sogard sliding headfirst across the plate. 4 hours and 22 minutes of pure baseball chaos. Have a stunning weekend. Thanks for listening. Next week I'll be filling in as host of our sister newsletter, The Morning. If you don't already get it, sign up. This has been the evening from the New York Times. Good night.